Hey everybody, Adam Savage in my cave, and I have my half-size simulacrum of myself here to just point out a funny artifact of being scanned. This is a scan of me that we did at our friends FBFX in London, I think in February of last year, or maybe even from 2023. And the hair is not just a product of the scan. That's a product of FBFX doing some lovely modeling work on the scan to make me look great. But there's one aspect that I haven't pointed out publicly until now, and that is that you can see my hearing aid, and there it is in the scan behind my ear. And if you bought one of the heads that we have, that we sold over Christmas, go check the left ear and you'll notice that I was wearing my left hearing aid when I was scanned. I wanted to shoot this video to talk a little bit about hearing aids and where I am with my hearing aids. I have hearing loss. I have bad eustachian tubes. And because of that and some various other reasons and things I did as a kid to mitigate my lack of ability to hear, I had my left eardrum rebuilt twice. It's called a tympanoplasty. And the second time worked really well. My ear surgeon, Larry Lustig, is a genius and did an amazing job. This is my best ear now, and it's the one that we operated on twice. And for at least, I'd say 15 years now, I have been wearing hearing aids every single day. In the beginning, I was working on Mythbusters, and I solved the problem with television money. I was making good living doing Mythbusters for those 13 years, and I went to the doctor and was like, I want the best hearing aids, and they were often like $5,000 to $7,000 for a pair of hearing aids that look just like this. Little behind the ear. There are multiple modalities for hearing aids. There's in-ears, there's these, there's ones with wires. I particularly like these that hang out behind the ear. They provide the right mix of invisibility and computing power and volume. Also, I should state, I am not your standard hearing loss patient because of my history with my eustachian tubes. The reason I'm not your standard patient is that my hearing loss is mostly in the low range. And for most adults who have hearing loss, what they lose is the high range. You know that tone that only children can hear, like teenagers and children can hear, but adults can't? If you don't know about it, go look it up. It's hilarious. It was originally invented to keep kids away from like public spaces by making a sound that wouldn't bother adults but only bother children. And the kids responded by making that sound their ring and text tone, which is a great subversion of technology in my opinion. But wait, why was I saying all this? Okay, so most normal hearing loss is in the high range. For me, it's in the lower range. And that is also a more difficult range for hearing aids to replicate. And like I said, for the first several years, I was using whatever the most expensive hearing aids were, I was getting the best ones. Once I stopped doing Mythbusters, I stopped having that kind of television money to spread around, and somebody told me to try Costco. And I went over to Costco, again, one of my favorite places, and I bought these Jabra hearing aids a couple of years ago, and they were $900 for the pair. Moreover, they're insured for loss. Moreover, I was able to get a hearing test with a couple of days' notice, as opposed to when I go to my own doctor at UCSF, it can take weeks for me to get an appointment. So I'm stumping big time for Costco within a specific bandwidth. The Costco hearing aids are great for mild to moderate hearing loss, not for the high levels of hearing loss. I still have, I think, like 21 and 18% hearing loss, give or take. And that puts me right in a great zone for the Costco hearing aids. If your hearing loss is much greater, you're going to need to go to more sophisticated devices. All that being said, I have recently tried the hearing test on the Apple AirPod Pros. And I'm really impressed. I've been using AirPods forever, since they first came out. I'm a big fan. I'm one of the people whose ears they don't fall out of. And I just really like them. I'm an Apple guy. I use all Apple products in my computational life, my Apple phone, my computer, my laptop, my Vision, etc. So this integrates really well with all the equipment in my life. But I wanted to talk about the experience of using these as hearing aids. because it is. Now, I just went through something I want to talk about, which is when you wear hearing aids, and hearing aids help give you a picture of the world. When you pull them out, well, it's like you put your fingers in your ears. So if you wanted to put your fingers in your ears and hold them there, that's my experience when I pull my hearing aids out. And it can feel claustrophobic. It can feel isolating. And I have several times in my life had the experience of a hearing aid just ceasing to work. These things are in a very difficult and kind of high stress environment. Your ears produce oils. Those oils can deteriorate electronics. They can get wet. These are very thin wires. These are highly precise machines with some incredible micro machining going on. And so they do have failure modes. If you wear hearing aids regularly and you lose one, either because it stops to function or you actually lose it, it can be very difficult emotionally to move around the world that day. And even if I don't use these Apple AirPod Pros every day, having them as a backup for my hearing aids is a godsend. It's a wonderful side benefit. Let's talk about their actual sound profile. It is not quite as crisp as what I get out of the Jabras. And I wouldn't expect it to be. These are general purpose music machines that Apple has refined enough to be able to work with the FDA to turn them into a useful medical device. And I believe that they are. But when I switch out from the AirPod Pros to the Jabras just give me a much crisper sound profile for the room. And yet, honestly, at night, sometimes walking around my house, these are absolutely spectacular. The last thing I want to say about these is using them with the Apple Vision has been also a really fascinating experience. So when I first got I'm just going to pull this over here. So when I first got the Apple Vision, I was using my headphones. Also, to be sure, the actual speakers on the Apple Vision are spectacular, and the sound you get from them is in and of itself terrific. But I'm a person who lives with another person, so I'm not watching my movies on full volume while it's spraying out of my headset. I'm using it with headphones. And in the beginning, when I was wearing the Vision headset over my eyes with the headphones over my ears, I felt like I'd tied a whole bunch of stuff onto my head. And it also felt the tiniest bit claustrophobic. As you see, I have moved to a more floating headset look with the Apple Vision. So I don't use the eye shroud anymore, and this floats in front of me. I find it a much more integrative experience with the pass-through to have it float like this. But there's another more hidden thing, and I saw a post on this the other day on one of the Apple Vision subreddits, is when you're in a house with another person and you've got something strapped to your eyes and your ears are strapped in, you are a difficult entity to approach. And it creates an issue to be a person in a house living with another person while you're super shut off from the physics of reality to a certain extent. And I definitely felt that. But when I wear the Apple Vision and it floats, and I've got these in, well, I get the surround sound, but I also get the hearing aid profile of my house. So far from insulating me from the house, the AirPod Pros, when they're in, put me in my house, and they make me feel like I'm watching a device in my house, and I can hear someone approaching. I can hear the sounds of my house. It's just much more, like I said, integrative with my actual lifestyle. I think Apple turning the AirPod Pros into a substitute hearing aid is one of the best sub-features I've seen out of a consumer product in a long time. Having been a very public hearing aid wearer for 15 years, I have been sent a lot of people's versions of earbud hearing aids. And I'm not naming any names, but everything I have tried sucked. Everything I have tried had a very bad user experience in the calibration, in the testing, in the integration. These were really, really just as advertised by Apple, straightforward, simple to understand, fast to execute, and awesome to use. Yeah, that is my little Apple fanboying stumping for these beautiful things and how they work with the hearing disabled. If you have people in your life who need hearing aids, this might be a great gateway drug to hearing aids, given that it is a lot less expensive and it carries a lot less of the stigma of hearing aids. One of the rhetorical flourishes I gave people a few years ago that a lot of folks have told me worked on people in their lives is to explain that no one who ever got hearing aids thought to themselves, well, that was a bad idea. Nobody. Honestly, when I put my hearing aids in, it shifted my marriage slightly. I was much harder to talk to before I had them in. And I've told this story before, but about 2 weeks after having my hearing aids in all day long, every day, my wife was like, why are you tiptoeing around the house like a ninja? It's really weird. Why are you tiptoeing? And I'm like, because I've only just discovered how loud I am. If you're like a father of boy children, you'll know that they can walk like, they just, everywhere they go, they're making noise. And I was an adult man who was doing the same thing. I just didn't know it because I couldn't hear it. It's ridiculous. So hearing aids have been a net magnificent boon to my life, and this is the first innovation into consumer product hearing aids that I'm really, really excited about. Thanks for joining me. I will see you next time. Oh, in the comments, if you are also a hearing aid wearer that has interesting experiences with these and hearing aids in general, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Let's talk about this stuff. That's how we're going to destigmatize it for the rest of the world. Adam out. Thank you guys for watching. I wanted to tell you about some new merch we have at adamsavage.com. We have a 4-pack of Savage meatball logos, a 3-inch, a 2-inch, a 1-inch, and my new favorite, a Savage meatball magnet. You can get them at adamsavage.com.